again, everyone. This is Abra, and I'm back to give my 2 cents on Graham Nolan's graphic novel, Alien Alamo. A master of his craft, Graham has been in the comic business for almost 40 years. He even designed and co-created Bane, one of the most popular villains in DC's Batman universe. Already a comics king and a favorite among Comicsgate, Graham returns with his second CG graphic novel. Graham has stated that he is in the process of, quote, creating a new universe that is centered around horror, monsters, sci-fi, and the supernatural. Each of his books take place in a shared universe. That's pretty cool. This tale is a mashup of the Western and science fiction genres. It has a classic feel to it, as if it were created back during a more simple time when the world was far more wholesome. The story takes place in 1957 in Texas, on a small ranch named the Alamo. Travis Houston, a man broken by the horrors of World War II and the death of his wife, is attempting to live a simple life while trying to raise his son James. This isn't easy for the man, as he's dealing with the horrible memories from his experiences during the war. Shortly after the Soviets launched Sputnik into orbit, a strange meteor shower lights up the night sky above the Houston ranch. Travis's young son James, along with his loyal dog Tonto, decides to investigate, thinking that this is related to the launch of the Russian satellite. However, when he gets to the crash site, all he finds are rocks. He then begins to wonder if there might be some money to be made from collecting fragments of the meteor rocks to sell. The next morning during breakfast, Travis asks his son about the satellite, and James tells him about seeing the meteors. James offers to take his dad to see the crash site, but Travis quickly reminds the boy of their daily chores. While out mending their fence, Travis and his son receive a visit from their neighbor, Tobias. He says he's missing some cattle and wonders if they might have wandered onto Travis's ranch. He then continues his search after Travis lets him know that he hasn't seen the missing animals. Later, Tobias's ranch hands find the cattle, dead and horribly mutilated. The situation quickly turns from bad to worse, as strange crab-like creatures begin to emerge from the meteor fragments and try to exterminate the men. Left with the option to either stand their ground against the alien invaders or succumb to the menacing crab horde, Travis, Tobias, James, and the surviving ranch hands decide to fight. The remainder of the comic shows the epic fight for their lives and reveals an even bigger threat that they must overcome for the sake of the planet. The main protagonist, Travis Houston, displays the traits that you used to traditionally find in a hero. Despite his pain and loss, the father tries to do right by his young son. He sets a good example for James by showing that you don't back down from a fight. A man should always try to do the right thing, even if it means that he might not make it out alive. It was nice to see Sam Elliott,
I like your style.
Tobias, along with the other ranchers, join in the fight. It was an example of good neighbors sticking together. Well, for the most part. A few did turn heel and run when the crab aliens came out in full force. I really liked Graham's take on the aliens. The creatures reminded me of a combination of the old campy monsters from 50s horror movies and the aliens from the Alien movie franchise. These crab invaders could project a lethal acidic spray, similar to that of the movie Aliens. However, unlike the xenomorphs from the movies, the crabs spray ass acid, as James calls it. Another thing that felt old school was the dialogue. It's simple, but feels appropriate. It's how I imagine the stoic countrymen from that era would speak. Initially, when I began reading Alien Alamo, the pacing felt far too hurried. I chalked it up to, well, maybe it's an old school style. However, by the end of the book, this all made sense, as the ending opens up possibilities for expanding on the story. The art throughout Alien Alamo looks great, is fun, and feels appropriate to the period it's set in. It's how I'd imagine a serial from the 1950s being produced. There were also a couple of scenes reminiscent to the face-melting scenes in Raiders of the Lost Ark. On a side note, I did notice an issue with the physical construction of the book. From the moment that I removed the comic from the bag with the board, the front and back covers began to curl up. I tried placing a heavier book on top of it for a few days, but that didn't help. This is the first time that I've had this happen with one of my CG books. I'm not well versed in the actual physical production of comics, so I'm not sure what's causing it. This is just a small complaint, although I hate to even call it that, it's more of an observation. The book is going to go right back into the bag as soon as I'm finished with the review, but this might be something worth Graham discussing with the printer. Overall, I'm quite pleased with Alien Alamo. One of the great things about Comicsgate, in addition to being an awesome community of fans and creators, is the exploration of all manner of genres, even the combining of genres. I can't wait to see what Graham has in store for us next with this new interconnected universe he's creating.